What is going on, everybody? Hope you're all having a wonderful Wednesday. Had a wonderful Wednesday. Now having a wonderful Thursday. Nothing good happening for me in the NBA and MLB these days, but Sheets just wins all the League of Legends, the hockey, and everything.
Dude, something's got to pay for
Seriously,
for Jacob Junis or whatever, like.
Man, that was rough yesterday, but we're back at it today with some baseball. Sheets, you had a nice night with the NHL and a little bit with the MLB and NBA, but it was a rough one for the MLB, huh?
Yeah, well, just to show you, right? So we will be transparent. Hold on, we're gonna go recent MLB. I want to show you. I cashed for this, right? This is earlier in the day. But where's my 555? Where is it? Oh, it's all the way down. I think this was it. Yeah, look at this one.
Here,
32.75 points.
You gotta share your screen.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't think it's gonna. I don't think it wants me to share this.
Yeah, I had a rough.
I don't think it wants me to share the screen. So yeah, so this one right here this is my 555. You like that? Oh, baseball. That's what happens, man. Sometimes
you can just completely whiff.
And then I had I cashed in this one, this one was pretty good when I stacked the Mets up a little bit, but then Peterson just kind of.
Yeah, he died there.
Kind of died, and so that's the way it goes. We got a nice compact 5 game. We're gonna do that, and then we're gonna do we're gonna take a quick second. Then we're gonna do NBA, and then Bobby tells me he's going to the game tonight.
Yeah, we get to talk about it. Maybe I just stacked the game I'm in. I'm going to it. May as well.
Hey, that would be you wouldn't be the first person to do that.
No, definitely not. Probably won't be the only person tonight to do it. In LA even. But you're right. Do you want to start off with the Seattle-Boston game?
Yeah. So first of all, is there any weather? I think weather itself is not an issue tonight. Pretty much anywhere. The only wet, quote unquote weather thing could be wind in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Which is good. I mean, it's good with respect to us planning and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have Pavetta right now as one of my 2 SP2s. My current build is actually very, very chalky with respect to the pitching. And Pavetta is one of my 2 SP2s. And that's that. And with respect to the hitting, yeah, I mean Boston against Justin Dunn certainly rates to be a really, really strong play. Like right, I have them right now on DraftKings as my second best stack, and considering that the Mets are going to be just, I presume, really, really chalky. I think I like Boston next. I think LA, I have LA a little worse, but LA is going to be much lower owned, I think, than Boston.
Yeah.
So I definitely do have Boston up there though. And the guys I have listed for Boston are, the expensive guys are Bogarts and Devers. I didn't get to JD for some reason as a good value, but I wouldn't mind playing a Cordero at the bottom, Kiki, Verdugo, guys like that. And with respect to Seattle, I get it. I just I don't know. They're in play for me. I would say Seattle's in play for me. It would be Haniger, White, France, Seager. Those would be my 4 guys from there. And yeah, I definitely consider if they're lower owned, then maybe they will be lower owned than these other guys. I think they have a shot.
Yeah, I mean, I have Pavetta right now as tied for my best pitcher. Like,
okay.
It's a lineup thing partially. Like, Pavetta, you get 5 righties probably projected at least in the lineup, and then of the lefties, the only one that really scare you would be Seager and maybe Marmelajoy. You got Trammell, who's still just young, and JP Crawford down at the bottom. I think Pavetta is very high on my list. It does, it's in Boston. Obviously, I can understand if you want to take the other side of it and play the hitters. There's not a lot of great pitching to choose from like we had before. Not yesterday, obviously, but like a few days before. And I do think Boston looks like one of the top stacks. The problem is the ownership is going to be outrageous. So just try to find an interesting way to do it. Maybe play Frenchie Cordero if he gets in the lineup at the bottom. Maybe play Bobby Dell back down at the bottom of the order. Because it's going to be, I think, significantly higher owned than everything else. Although I wouldn't be surprised if the next game we talk about gets the run total keeps going up, because I think that there's a lot to like in that game as well. So yeah, it's the guys you mentioned, but I would say JD is the best play. I don't really understand why people will pay the same amount for Devers. They're not even in the same ballpark. I mean, they're in the same ballpark literally, but they're not in the same realm of talent, in my opinion. I think JD had a down year last year. He's been on fire this year, and I think JD is significantly a better play than the other two. So Devers and Bogarts would definitely come after JD for me.
Yeah, I actually think that the next game, I think the Mets. I mean, we can move ahead. I think the Mets are probably going to be I thought they'd be the highest owned kind of.
They may end up being, but Boston will be right there. I don't think it's going to be that big. Maybe because Boston's prices, they won't be quite as much on DraftKings.
Yeah, I have no interest in either of the pitchers here. Now again, if I were playing a bunch of lineups, I guess I could make a case for Lucchesi, but not really. I mean, I just prefer to just go with the hitting side. But I was expecting to get a little bit more of the Cubs, but I'm just not. I'm getting just basically all Mets. Conforto, Nemo's questionable. So I don't know what they're going to do about it. I think they started McNeil leadoff yesterday. So maybe if they do that again, he's obviously going to be a good play. Conforto's going to be a good play. Lindor is always a good play. Alonso, I don't care who he's facing, he's always a good play. Dominic Smith's a good play. So all these guys are really good plays, and they're all really cheap, and so I think the more the wind blows, the chalkier these guys are going to be.
Yep.
And yeah, so I'm not going to play Trevor Williams. I'm probably going to, I probably will end up playing the Mets. But maybe not. I mean, it depends. Like if I play, say, Buehler and Pivetta, or Buehler and Sanchez, or Pivetta and Sanchez, or some combination of those three. I mean, those are like, I presume, the three chalk pitchers, and I don't know if I want to play the Mets along with those exact combinations, So, but the Mets certainly rate to be the best plays, at least what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I like both sides. I initially kind of would agree with you, just as the lefties of the Mets and the prices would make me want to play them. But then I look over and Lucchesi versus this right-handed dominant lineup. I think that I'm just as much a fan of the Cubs, maybe even more so.
Oh, nice.
Unfortunately, my favorite plays in this game are both shortstops, that's Baez and Lindor. So I'm gonna have to figure out what to do on DraftKings about that. I may do my normal thing on FanDuel and just play both of those guys. I have them as the best shortstops on the board other than Seager. And I think Seager's a little worse than they are today, just because he's still a good lefty, but these guys are in great spots. And both obviously Lindor always the platoon advantage, but Baez with the platoon advantage. And I think that, no one likes, people always skip Rizzo in the lefty. You can play him in the lefty if you're stacking up the Cubs. I think Chris Bryant would be my second favorite, followed by Happ and Contreras. And then Bodie, I would play at the bottom, probably before I play Matt Duffy at 2.4. And then on, Lindor, Conforto, Smith, Alonso, it's pretty close, and Nimmo, it's pretty close between all of them. It's a pricing thing for some of them, and in Nimmo's case, he's cheaper, obviously. But I think I would go for maybe what could be like a little bit lower owned of a. I think the highest owned is going to be Smith. I'm sorry, not Smith. Nimmo and Lindor. Maybe if you played the later part of the stack, you could get a little bit lower owned. It's still going to be higher owned, but Dominic Smith and Conforto. That was just my way of approaching it early on without seeing the actual lineup.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, I maybe you're right about the Cubs. Yeah, I'll put the Cubs up in that main group with the Cubs, along with the Red Sox, I think.
Yeah.
And then the next game we'll get to the other two teams. Honestly, you want to do that? You want to just move ahead, or?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I am not going to play a team coming out of Coors who is struggling in general, even in Coors. I understand what you could say about the matchup. We know that Alex Cobb is very all over the place. He can be really good and really bad. So I get it, but I'm not playing these pitchers, and I'm not stacking. I don't think I'm stacking these teams either.
Yeah, I mean, I have both of them as options alongside of Boston. So I'll probably have to make a call between those. I think they're going to be owned pretty much the same. Actually, Boston's got to be higher owned, I think. But then Boston's really expensive.
Yeah, that's the one thing that might keep the ownership. I'm curious to see where we have the ownership later, because
Yeah,
it will dictate a little bit of what I want to do. I mean, even looking at this game initially, I did think that people would play them a similar amount, which I think Boston and the Mets and Chicago are all better than that, the better plays today. So I was sort of going off of that, but also again that Coors Road thing, it does always get me, and also these guys just haven't been impressive this season in general. So
no. What about the Angels though? I regard the Angels very similar. So what do you think about them?
I don't see any reason to pick on Javier, and I don't see any and what I consider to be a pretty good bullpen. He's certainly not a bad guy, and it's sort of almost like a middle reliever starting for you, but he's pretty good. They're fine. It's just not the way that I'm not finding myself getting there very much. It is kind of interesting if Trout or something like that goes low. And the one guy you should be playing, in case you haven't got the memo yet, is you got to be playing Justin Upton every day if you can. So he's the only guy I'd make it like a priority exception for in this game. Like, he's also 3.3 and he's homered 3 of the last 4 games now. He's been really good this year. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, we're on the same page there. Miami, San Francisco. So we talked about this for a couple of starts, right? The Aaron Sanchez, kind of just keep an eye on it and see how he's going. And I guess this is the spot where you'd want to try it, right? I mean, so San Francisco's whatchamacallit, it's a fine park, not the greatest park, but not the worst. He's against Miami, right? Which, I mean, look, you can make cases either way. See, here's the thing. One thing about Sanchez, if I'm not mistaken, he sometimes, I don't want to be wild. Sometimes he's like not exactly like right on the plate, and I don't know, man. If you do try to stack Miami, you could turn that lineup over a couple of times. You don't really need like all that power to make it work, I don't think. So I thought about it, but I think, and again, you know me, I've been stacking Miami more than the average. I just don't think I'm going to do it.
I honestly didn't even like run through any range of options where I would ever consider stacking Miami on this slate.
Oh, really? Oh, for me,
I can't even find a considerable in San Francisco. Like, I don't even have I think that they're the worst play on the slate by a significant amount, including San Diego.
Well, the reason why I felt that both of those teams were worth considering is because of the ownership of their opposing pitchers, right? So like if Sanchez is going to end up being the chalky SP2,
yeah,
I felt it was necessary to at least consider what would happen if I stacked Miami's. But for me, for like at similar prices, I guess I just would rather just play Seattle if I'm going to do that. So that's where I'm at. But I did consider it. I just don't think I'm going to get there with the Miamis. And likewise with San Francisco. Thought about that also, but they're just not projecting, or they're just not doing it for me today. So for me, I'll play Sanchez is one of my top 3 pitchers. I said already, between Buehler, him, and Pivetta. I'll probably mix and match those. And hopefully you would give me some insight to either confirm that belief or draw me from it.
I mean, it's hard for me to find an excuse exactly to play Sanchez over Pivetta in some more sense here.
Okay.
Because I actually do have some interest in Sanchez too. Like, anyway, just I think that really I don't have that many pitchers. I have 3 pitchers I think I'm playing. But I mean, look, they just had this matchup. We've already, in Miami, you get a park upgrade for pitchers, obviously. Sanchez, in spite of having pitched fairly well, hasn't made it at past 5 innings so far this season. Pivetta has a full a K prop, 1K higher than Sanchez at a similar price. The match, I think it's close between them. Actually, I should probably say it's closer than you think, but the back to, I don't know. I give a little bit of an edge to Pivetta, a better strikeout guy. I like the matchup for him. Miami probably can be just pesky enough here, but I do think, look, he is the third best pitcher I have on the slate. I think San Francisco, I would argue that you could consider them. I'm just not playing like a ton of lineups because I'm going to the game tonight, so I'm not going to do it. But we'll say the usual guys: Wilmer Flores, Evan Longoria. The problem with this team is the Giants will be platooning a lot. Like a guy like Darren Ruff who will show up as being a good play, like possibly projection, point per dollar basis, but he might get 1 or 2 at bats. Like that's a legitimate possibility. Most of the games he plays, he gets about 2 at bats. So it's just hard to figure out a reason to stack them other than it's a small slate and they might be low owned with a good run total against a bad pitcher and a bad bullpen.
Did you look at Castano at all, or
No.
He's nothing? Okay, I didn't get to him either.
I didn't even. I just didn't like. I guess I should be looking at other pitchers, and maybe I'll dig a little further. He did just.
Yes, the thing is, he's like apparently has just 0 strikeout. I'm sorry.
He had 0 strikeouts against the same team the other day in 5 innings, which is pretty crazy. That's actually
so he has the upside then because he only has
exactly. That's like really hard to do. All right. And then do you want to get on to the last one?
Yeah. So I get to the Dodgers a little bit easier on FanDuel than on DraftKings this time. And even still, I have them as kind of 3rd or 4th over there. With respect to the pitchers, I do like Buehler. He's rated as my top option. And if there was a problem, if I had issues getting him in at 10K, right? If I needed to go like Pivetta Sanchez to get all the hitting I want, then I would fade Buehler and play Pivetta Sanchez. I just not exactly sure if I'm going to need it. In other words, the Boston guys are really expensive, and do I really like need to play like Xander Bogaerts? Like JD Martinez is probably a guy I would kind of like to play. So that's one guy, and like Devers is whatever. He's fine, but I think that the Mets, I think are just as good as like most of all those Red Sox, except for Martinez, right? So. And I can make the case that Alonso, is in there. But if I'm going to prioritize the Mets over the Red Sox, for example, I don't know if I 100% need the savings from pivoting off of Buehler. And
even
Buehler has his, I don't want to say his issues, but he's got, he's pitching in San Diego, which is probably the second best, hitting team on the slate, right? Not in the slate, just the second best hitting
definitely the second best lineup on the slate.
That's what I meant. Second best hitting on the slate, second to the team they're playing. And they have the Dave Roberts effect. Maybe he doesn't pitch 100 pitches, right? And maybe only pitches 6 innings. But I think even still, even if I'm not going to get
he's not that guy. He doesn't belong in the same category as the other Dodger pitchers. He's going to throw 90+ pitches in all of his starts. Like he's
but what I was going to say is that even if he's not going to get 30 or 35 fantasy points, I think that even if he gets 20, 25 fantasy points, I think it's fine. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that I'm going to say, why did I pay 10K for that? Now I wasn't able to get, say, I don't know, great hitters and Coors or something like that. Now I don't know exactly what I'm like dying to pay up for by saving the money. So I'm going to play Buehler in my main lineup for sure.
Yeah, I would plan on doing the same, but I do think you can make an argument that if you stack differently, you could play Pivetta Sanchez, but you could be leaving points on the table. And Buehler does have the upside of the 35 that you're going to need.
Oh, okay.
And all that stuff. He shouldn't be regarded as Dave Roberts. That should never come up with him with relief. He doesn't have a short leash. He's an ace. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. He's already had to face the Padres at Colorado so far. Like it's not been a great, easy start for him, but he's the best. significantly better than
The other thing, the other tough matchup, tough story he had was against the Padres.
Yeah, but I mean, look, you can argue to fade it for for dollar savings or things like that. It's just there's nobody who's going to have the same raw upside on this slate. It's not even close. Nobody else is going to get 35 tonight.
You don't think Pivetta could get 35?
That is the closest thing to someone who could, but I think that it's 500 times more likely that Bueller does.
But let me ask you something, just because of the price and stuff like that. Is Javier the type of guy that if he just really gets it going, can get up to Buellerville?
No.
Not really. Okay.
I mean, anybody when they strike out in like 12 guys in 4 innings can do it, but there's he has no leash. Like there's a guy with no leash whatsoever.
Okay.
I don't even. How many pitches did he throw? Because I know last year I don't remember him going over like 80. He did throw 88 in his last outing, but I just don't want to pay 9,600 for him anyway, and it's not like it's a good matchup or anything. American League Park, obviously it's also ugly weather here in LA, which is going to make what obviously I'm going to play a lineup with a Dodgers stack because I'm going to the game, but it's not like
ugly weather in LA. What is that?
It's been like that. It's like 50 degrees, 55 degrees, 52 degrees.
Who do you like from the Dodgers, by the way?
I would take, it's weird because like you'd think small slate Dodgers, best offense in baseball, but they're not going to be owned. I can't see it, right? Like how are people going to make this play over the other guys and even the run projections? And I don't know. I'm just thinking it's going to be hard for people to want to play them. I think people will play bets. I like, Pollock, Seager, Turner, Betts. So let me do it in order. I don't know. I actually think I'm having a hard time with it. Will Smith might actually be like one of the priority plays here, just because of that the catching, being better. He and Contreras standing out so much better than the other catchers, in my opinion. Betts. So I guess Betts is obviously the one you'd want the most, but I love Seager. I have no problem with him. We just saw him the other night again in a lefty-lefty matchup, hit a home run. Same with Muncy. I don't mind him against in the lefty-lefty spot. I probably like Chris Taylor's price is higher than I'd want to pay for him on DraftKings. So I would jump down to Pollock and Smith. So something like that, like a 4 or 5 man with those guys. And then you could include Noose if you want to save the minimum or whatever. But he's, again, probably a guy who's not going to get you more than 2 at-bats at probably the most.
Where I have the Dodgers as a top option, that being on FanDuel. I presume that's because their prices are a little bit better. I do have the 4 righties as my except for Turner. I have 4 righties in the top 4. I have Pollock, Smith.
Yeah, so you'll never see me do that with the Dodgers, just personally. I'm not saying this is right. I'm just saying that because if anyone else stacks it, that's exactly what they're going to do, in my opinion.
Oh, okay.
I would rather not do that. I would rather get different into one place. And yeah, while some people will do the Seager thing too, overall the lefty thing. I mean, I've just seen it for every year. This come up every year that I've played DFS, because the Dodgers have always had a good lineup with lots of power lefties, and leaving the lefties out has always been a recipe for disaster because they all have great power numbers. Now we don't have Bellinger in the mix tonight, but I do think that maybe tonight it'd be a little bit different because you will only have the 2 lefties in the lineup. I still would like to get one of them in personally. But I guess I don't mind it because there's only going to be, because you don't have Bellinger there as well. So maybe you can scratch it on tonight's slate that way of thinking. But that's just what I always try to do when I'm playing.
Well, the thing is what you're going to find tonight is that you'll get Seager probably at particularly low ownership, because you got on FanDuel. I mean, you got Bogarts at 3K. You have Lindor at 3,100.
Right.
So you're going to get you'll get Seager at low ownership over there.
Yeah. And I mean, over the last X number of games, whether you want to count spring training or not, whether you want to count the postseason or not, Seager's been essentially basically the best hitter in baseball. So I definitely don't mind doing that. I think you will get low ownership on him. So I might actually do that. I don't mind him as a one-off either, by the way.
I'm telling you, if you rank these guys, I mean, and this is what you're going to see, and hopefully the optimizers pick this up. If you rank the shortstops on FanDuel based on projections and points per dollar, which you shouldn't do, right? But let's say you did, like you would get Corey Seager as like the 6th best shortstop.
Right, on a 5-game slate, which is
a 5-game slate, right?
Right.
So if people do that, you know, and he's just gonna, I think he's just gonna get naturally lower owned.
I agree.
And I think it's gonna be a pretty good play to stack them over there. And
Yeah.
like you said, I think that's sharp. I think you as usual, you know, you play at least one lefty as part of your stacks, and that probably in and of itself just gets you different.
Especially on this kind of a slate, and especially if it's Seager, because like you said, that position is just particularly underpriced for the other studs there, and there's some other good ones. So makes a lot of sense.
It's going to outscore Bogarts against Justin Dunn, Lindor blowing out at Chicago. Wait, Tatis.
He probably should be favored to outscore these guys.
Guess so.
I mean, he's the best hitter in baseball. So I'm just kidding. He's the best hit. He's the best. He's been the best hitter in baseball. He's been a much better player than all these.
Best hitter of the guys we mentioned. How about that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. We didn't mention Mike Trout very much today.
Yeah, but until Trout's play shortstop, I don't have to worry about that.
I know. But separately, I hope the Dodgers eventually just soon move Seager just somewhere else. We need his body to hold up. And
I thought you were going to say something really. I was going to hang up on you. I thought you were going to say, "Oh, I really hope the Dodgers pick up Trout one of these days." Like, okay.
No, I don't think the Dodgers. No, we're fine. We're fine.
That's all we need.
Yeah. All right, guys.
What's their record, by the way, now?
I think they're 14-4. They're on pace to win 126.
4 losses? What the hell?
14-4. Hey, still on pace for 126.
Yeah, but I'll tell you something. It just goes to show you. Do you know that like back this was back when I was really following baseball, like the Tigers when they won the World Series in '84 with Tramelon, they started off the season 34-5.
That's like absurd. That was the year. Wasn't that the year they also? I think they won like 18 out of 19 to start or something crazy.
Crazy, right?
That's just ridiculous. But this. By the way, most numbers are exactly the opposite of that. It's actually more these days that teams start out with these absurd numbers. And
right?
I mean, even like Seattle, that was 2001, right? When they won one.
Right. No, but that's how absurd that was when they were 34. Even when the Mets went in '86 when they were really good, they started off the season something absurd like that also.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, but the Dodgers aren't. They're barring some funny business. They're not losing.
They're pretty good. All right, guys. Hey, good luck to everybody out there, and we'll see you later this evening.